Hello, guys, and welcome back to the weekend wrap up for the 4th of April, 2020. So, what we're looking at today in the market, again, if you are new to this particular series, this is where I kind of take some back tested algorithms that I made within trade ideas, and then I'm scanning that list with my eye at the end of the day. Every Friday, coming up with a list, generally of 4 longs, 4 short. During this crazy market period, I've shrunk that into 2 longs, 2 short, just because the profit potential trading less is the same as it would be before. So this is just my recommendation if you're a new trader, or even if you're a seasoned trader and hasn't seen a market like this before, is just to understand that there is the potential of stocks to move in a day what they would normally move in a week or a month. So you can apply less of your capital and risk less of your capital total than you normally would, and still make around the same type of return. And that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to this. As the VIX lowers and things become more calm, I trade more and a larger size, and then conversely, as they ramp up, I trade a larger size, and just make sure that my risk is always the same, because that's the only thing in trading that we can control. So I take the risk, and let me just show you in trade ideas if you didn't know, and if you're interested, there is a link in the description below, and that will save you some money and also helps out this channel. But you can grab any alert window we have, and you can run a backtest on it. And this is a back test for a scan that I have. You can see that if I traded everything from this, and this is an intraday algorithm, so this isn't one that I used, but you can see how well this equity curve looked like. Now, if I do this on a daily basis, this may fall apart, but in trade ideas, you can go and say, well, I want to do this for an all-day hold. I want to close this in 5 days. And then you can run that. So that's what I do. And then I find out what it triggered on Friday. I scan those by eye. And then from then I go and make a list. And from that list, we have 2 longs and 2 shorts. And I just give you my technical reason of why I picked these, knowing that all of them have some sort of fundamental backing, statistical backing. And, show my thoughts on the market and all that. So first thing to look at here on the SPY, obviously a big down move here, a small bounce, and then we've just been chopping. And to be honest, after a move of this kind of this extent, this mass, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some choppy action for a very long time. So just be prepared for that. The way to deal with that is obviously widen your stops and kind of grab profits as they come to you, because I wouldn't be surprised we have a couple days up, a couple days down, as the market works through this uncertainty. I've drawn this purple line here is the VWAP, the anchored VWAP from the top. And if you don't know, I would check out Brian Shannon's from alphatrends.net. He invented this. And essentially what this is shows the average price of the market participant. So I drew it from the highs. So the average market participant who bought or sold in this kind of down move is underwater right now. So what that tells me is that the onus is kind of still to the bearish side until we can kind of reclaim that, maybe build a base and push higher. And then if I look at the VWAP here, and you just click that right here in Trade Ideas and click on the candle, you can see from the bottom, we've been bouncing around that. So we have this kind of sandwiching pattern based off of the bottom pickers who are kind of up money, but not really, as you can see their prices right here, and the guys who sold from the top, and they are underwater as well as they battle. That's what we have to watch out for. So my strategies are almost the same regardless of market conditions, just adjusted for volatility, but I just like to kind of explain that that's the lens that I'm looking at this through. So next, let's take a look at what triggered last week. Thankfully, none of our shorts really triggered, because they all went the other way pretty dramatically, but our longs did. So we got into Peloton, which actually turned out to be the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week. There'll be a link for that in the description below as well. That's given out free to anybody who wants it every single week. and is just something that Steve Gomez kind of puts together along with all of the tools and the AI and all of this that he has access to, and comes with kind of one idea that he thinks is interesting each week. We were looking at this as well before that happened, but it kind of gapped up above us and then pulled back a few days later and then pushed higher. So if it wasn't for this particular experiment where I sell everything at the end of the week, go into the weekend in cash, and reopen a new portfolio next week, I would still hold some of this, and I am in another account. But again, we are tracking this particular strategy, which again was invented for essentially a client that I have. I do mentoring. If you want to be mentored by me, send me an email. The link is also in the description below. And what I did for this gentleman is he wanted kind of a hands-off strategy that he could start to learn and play with the market, but he had a job that didn't allow him to watch the market all day. And I said, listen, if you can come up with some algos that you like, scan those algos, feed that into Trade Ideas Auto Trader, have it trade it for you so you know that you're protected with stop losses and all this, then if you're managing this well throughout a period of time, then it will be a good way to learn. It will be a good place to grow. So I will hold this in another account that I have, and again, it's still looking very strong. The story makes sense. They're the ones that make those really expensive bicycles with an iPad basically taped to the front and charge $1,000 for it. So business is good in this current environment. The other thing is this THS. We were looking for a break of this downtrend line. We got that on Monday, and then it just kind of didn't look back. So between the two of those, we made $6 a share. So if we go over to here, this is essentially a spreadsheet that I put together that's tracking this from the beginning of the year to date. You can see this is what would happen if you had 100 shares, 200 shares, 3, 4, and 5. And here is kind of the P&L per day. We've only had one losing week so far this year, but to be honest, I do not expect that to continue in any way, shape, or form. I'm not betting on that, and I wouldn't if I were you guys either. And again, these are traded not just instantly, but only if certain things kind of happen throughout the day. Like if they gap crazy one way or the other, I obviously don't want to take the trade. I want to get my price in this area where this line is. If this thing kind of gapped up here, the system will be told to ignore it. If it happened in the first 2 seconds of the day, the system is generally told to ignore those as well. So this week we are looking at 2 longs and 2 shorts again, and our long side we're looking for MGPI. One thing to kind of note, if I run the same VWAP from the beginning of the gap, you can see that we have a fair amount of room. We can go up to $31 here before we kind of get this resistance that we saw on the SPY, potential resistance, I should say. But note that it's sold off, and as it's been selling, the rate of which it's selling has decreased. And I just think if it gets above this, we have a 23% short float down here, that we could get some pop higher from that. Next is HMSY, and that's looking at this kind of big strong push up, run the VWAP from the gap like the other bit right here, and you can see we are well over that. So again, anyone who bought in this area is now profitable and maybe looking to add if things kind of break up. Ignore this one's from an arbitrary price I misclicked. Not really much of a short float here, but essentially just this big strong push up and then this sideways chop here. So if I just draw a trend line in here, you'll see that it's just your very typical type bear or bull flag, right? This big strong push up, and then these indecision candles, right? We have a doji here and a doji here and a doji here. So this is kind of my thoughts. If you want to go from the broad view in, it starts with a algorithm, then goes into technical analysis when it comes to kind of geometric patterns and trend and that type of thing. And then I zoom into what the individual candlesticks around the trade entry look like. I like indecision candles like dojis and spinning tops and things like that. And then I just look to trade in the direction of that particular trend. Apron. Interesting to note here with Apron, if we look at the VWAP from this big move up, you can see we've actually made it under there. This was on the list last week, but didn't trigger. I was actually looking for it to break into the gap here, but we've kind of grinded up higher here. One thing to note, and I'm interested in, is this trend line here. So we broke up, and a lot of people, I think, were, looking and saying, hey, this thing could rocket higher. We've had this strong push and then a pullback, and then maybe away we go. But it popped up, came back down, and popped up, came back down. And this actually pattern here is called a tweezer pattern, when you have two tails of two candles right next to each other and right in the same area. The name of these things is irrelevant, but what it tells us is that 2 days in a row, buyers came in and pushed it up, and then a seller came in and pushed it back down, right? So twice in a row, there's been a seller that overwrote everybody kind of in this type of area. We know the average price played in this nonsense is negative, and we have a doji right here. So I think if we break under this doji, we could continue quite a bit lower. Next is TMUS, T-Mobile. T-Mobile is essentially a trend line break right in through here. We've had this kind of strong push down, things pushed up. We put in this inverse hammer candle here and then sold off of it dramatically. So I think if we break down further here, we have the 200-day moving average right below us. I think if we break down there, we could kind of get into this area, which is a pretty decent point gain. So that is what I'm looking for from the stock side of things. People request my views on crypto and a technical analysis on crypto. And, basically what I'm just looking at here is this is a bear flag until kind of proven otherwise. You have the big strong push down here and then this slow meandering grind up. One thing that's important to note is we have this trend line in this area, or this area right here. I am looking to short this on a break of this trend line lower with a stop just up in this area. So the trade would kind of look, I guess, something like this. I just found this thing the other day, but I would be looking to short if it broke under that trend line with my stop over recent highs, and I could see if I could kind of get in this area, and that puts us at a 2.3 risk reward. I'd probably do something like a stop like that. So I have a 3 risk reward. And then if we get down to the bottom here, I've got a 6 risk reward. Because as you guys know, I don't claim to be insanely accurate. I don't think that that's possible. I think a 60% accuracy is great. And then the rest is just kind of risk management. And that's what separates the men from the boys, you could say, in trading. So that is what I'm looking for this week. I will let you guys know next week. You'll notice there's been a bit of a pause of the swing trading videos, and that's because these things are happening so quick that I'm in a trade and I'm sometimes out of what I thought would be a swing trade for a win or a loss minutes later. Things that I expected to be really, really good trades are up and down in day trade. So I'm actually focusing on the day trading side of things. I may do a recording for you guys on the day trading side of things where I'm doing a lot more algorithmic trading, just because, again, the market is primed for that. So I'm focusing on where I think the most potential returns are at that time. And in, low VIX environment, it's more on the swing trading side of things. And in high VIX environment, I believe it's more on the day trading side of things. So that is it for this week. Again, everyone, trade safe, and also stay safe when you're out there. And again, links for everything that I mentioned are in the description right under the video.